بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We started in the previous lesson about the concept of الرجعة, the return of some people after they are dead. They are resurrected and they are returned into this life to see the consequences of their deeds before the day of judgment. And we mentioned a couple of verses in the Quran that supports this concept. One of them, the chapter 27, verse 83, وَيَوْمَ نَحْشُرُ مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ فَوْجًا مِمَّنْ يُكَذِّبُ بِآيَاتِنَا فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. They are marshaled before us, going to the hellfire. So we gather a group of every community. Dr. Ali asked me an important question, and I found the answer today. He said, then what does the Sunni say about this verse? How do they interpret that? The verse, it says, on a day where we are going to gather a group of every community, not the entire people of earth. Because when God speaks about the day of judgment, it says, وَحَشَرْنَاهُمْ فَلَمْ نُغَادِرْ مِنْهُمْ أَحَدًا. There is no exception. All people are gathered in one place. Do you remember, Dr. Ali? You asked me then, what do the Sunnis, how do they interpret it? Right. I found it. One of the scholars, he says, this verse, it's about the day of judgment. It's not about the raj'ah. God is trying to say that after this is the Sunni interpretation, after we gather all people in one place, then we're going to divide them into groups, and the leader of every group is going to lead his group into hellfire. The leader of every group is going, and then he gives an example. He says, فَيُسَاقُ أَبُو جَهْلٍ. For instance, the pagans of Mecca, they are led by whom? Abu Jahl, Al-Walid ibn Mughira, Shu'bah ibn Rabi'ah. He mentions many names. Those are the leaders of every team in Quraysh who are disbelievers, and they lead them to the hellfire. So what is the answer?
Isn't there a verse in the Quran regarding that?
Yes. يَقْدِمُ قَوْمَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَأَوْرَدَهُمُ النَّارِ. It's about Pharaoh. He is going to lead, يَقْدِم, walks in front of his community, and then he is going to usher them. فَأَوْرَدَهُمُ النَّارِ. He's going to usher his community into hellfire. Yes, it's about Pharaoh. But regarding this, what do you think of this interpretation?
Well, we debunked it yesterday.
What did we say?
It was because of the way the language is used in the ayah. It's referring, it's not, because of the other parts of the Quran say that this is not referencing the day of judgment. But it must be on earth.
Once you get to the day of judgment, there's no going back, you said.
I think the key is why it would use the word group rather than all, right?
Exactly. Because there is another word in the Quran, وَيَوْمَ يُحْشَرُ أَعْدَاءُ اللَّهِ إِلَى النَّارِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Not only the leaders of the groups. Quran says, he speaks general, all the non-believers are going to be led, not a group of them. In the first one, which is 27, Surah An-Naml. What is it? 2783, yes? Huh?
Yes.
The first one is 2783. وَيَوْمَ نَحْشُرُ مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ فَوْجًا. See, the wording of it is very precise, specific. It says from every community, we're going to gather only one group. And then we lead them to hellfire. But then in chapter 41, verse 19, 41, verse 19, it says, we gather all the non-believers. فصلت. What does it say? وَيَوْمَ يُحْشَرُ أَعْدَاءُ اللَّهِ. All the enemies of God, إِلَى النَّارِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Not just a group. So, in the Quran there is no contradiction.
Sorry, it says all enemies of God. What is going to happen to them?
We gather them and then we lead them into hellfire. وَيَوْمَ يُحْشَرُ أَعْدَاءُ اللَّهِ إِلَى النَّارِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Not only group of them. Let me explain that to you. Dr. Ali, just look at me. Omid, just look at me. If I say that at the end of the class, people who are going to leave this place are few people who are going to leave this place. And then I say, at the end of the class, all people are going to leave. There is a contradiction. There is a contradiction. Because in the first one I said, only few of this class, only a group of this class are going to leave this room at the end of the class. In the second, I'm going to say jami'a. See, jami'a. All of them. All of them are going to leave. So there is a contradiction. People will ask me, oh, Sayyid, do you mean only few are going to leave or you mean all? They have the right to ask this because I said two different sentences. In the first one I said a few, in the second I said all. So there should be two different occasions, not one occasion. If I am referring to one occasion, I either say a group, or if I don't say group, I say all. I cannot say both about one occasion. This is why this has been refuted. That it's Allah says in that one, min kulli ummatin fawja. He said from every ummah, every community, a group. And on the day of judgment, all are going to be gathered, not just a group. My friends, now why? What is the philosophy of coming back again?
You said to teach people a lesson.
And to see the positive result, to see that the promise of God is true here in this life. Because God asserts, this is 40:51. See, 40:51. 40:51. Ghafir. This is Ghafir. What does he say in Ghafir? He says, Inna لَنَنْصُرُ رُسُلَنَا وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. We're going to give victory to our messengers and the community of the believers in this life. If he doesn't say in this life, what would we say, Dr. Omid? We say God gave a promise that in the hereafter they're going to be victorious. But he's saying no. We're going to give them victory in this life. Now I can tell you now that 99% of the prophets and the imams, they didn't gain any victory in this life. They were defeated, they were murdered, they were beaten, they were, rejected.
So, and I'm just sort of thinking, can they say that this means at the end of, before the day of judgment, let's say when the Mahdi returns and gets the ultimate victory?
This is exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
So many commentators, they say, there should be a period at the end of the time, where all those prophets are gathered and their enemies are gathered too, to show them that the prophets are victorious not only in the day of judgment, but in this fil hayat dunya, in this life too. And that is during Imam al-Mahdi's time.
So Sayyid, I have a question regarding this. So two things. One is when it says in that ayah in 40:51 where it talks about victory, I don't think God is really talking about physical victory. I mean, yes, they were beaten, they were the spiritual victory. They were
Exactly. And this is what another group, Dr. Ali, did you hear what Umid said, Dr. Umid?
Yeah. Moral victory versus the physical.
And this is exactly what other group of Shia scholars say about Raja. They say, yes, the promise of God is true and it will happen, but it doesn't have to be physical. When Imam al-Mahdi comes and he restores peace and justice, then this is victory. So God does not have to bring Abraham and Noah and Moses and Jesus and Muhammad and Imam Ali and Imam Hussein and this and this and that. No. When Imam Mahdi comes and truth is going to prevail, justice is going to be defeated, then God's promise is going to be fulfilled.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a physical return of those, of the good or the bad. Neither one doesn't have to be. This is what great scholars, Shia scholars believe about the Raj'ah.
Right.
So Raj'ah is a moral victory, not necessarily physical victory. You don't have to bring Prophet Muhammad again to show the enemies that Muhammad was right and his enemies were. During the state of Imam al-Mahdi, his society, his governance,
Right.
people are going to understand who's who.
Yeah, but that would be you can combine them and say this physical victory kind of made the other victories more a moral victory.
Yeah?
You know.
So Imam al-Mahdi is going to come when he restores peace and justice and there will be no conflicts, then that is God's promise is fulfilled. And this is a great scholar like Sayyid Muhammad Hussein, Sheikh Muhammad Hussein Kashif al-Ghita, an Iraqi scholar, Najafi, or Sheikh Muhammad Rida al-Muzaffar. Those are great scholars of this opinion that Raj'ah, number one, Raj'ah, they say Raj'ah is not one of the fundamentals of Shia Islam, meaning that if you believe in it, you are a good Shia. If you reject it, you are not a good Shia. No. They say there are many concepts. If you believe them, if you believe in them, or if you don't believe in them, it would not make any difference. They give an example of the return of Jesus. If you don't want to believe in the return of Jesus, doesn't mean that you are non-Muslim or non-Shia, or your faith is incomplete. Many ghaybiyat, things that we have been told that this will happen at the end of the time, this incident will happen, this damage will happen, this land is going to sink in. It's written in the history. If you don't believe in them, I don't want to believe in them. Does that make me less of a Shia? No. Or it would not strip me out of my Islamic identity. And I, with humbleness and humility, of the second opinion. This subject has been controversial from day one. And this is why the Sunnis, whenever they wanted to weaken someone and attack him, they say, هو يؤمن بالرجعة. This guy is not authentic, is non-trustworthy because he believes in Raj'ah.
So which opinion are you of? Which one?
Doesn't have to be physical.
Right.
It could be, it's not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible for God to bring Imam Hussein back or Imam Ali back.
Right.
It's not impossible. God brought many people back to life.
Right.
God allowed Jesus to bring many people back to life and they lived for 20, 30, 50 years and then they died. It's not impossible. God can do anything.
Right, so you believe the ultimate victory kind of...
But I am speaking about there is no necessity for them to come back to prove that God is right. or
Right.
those prophets were right.
Right.
Doesn't have to be physical.
Yeah.
People do not have to see it with their own eyes.
So
Some people, they believe only when they see with their own eyes. And those are the primitive people. But many people, when they understand with their mind, it's enough for them. They don't have to see with their eyes.
So, yeah, I mean, that makes some more sense, but why did the term of raja then become that people will return? Yani,
What is the philosophy of it?
Yeah, or when did it develop? Yeah,
God's justice.
From the time of our Imams. We have hadith that Imam al-Sadiq,
right.
ليس منا, he's not part of us, من لم يؤمن برجعتنا. The one who does not believe in our raj'ah and our return. He's not even a Shia. He's not one of us. It's a hadith.
So that means they will.
Or Imam Ali, a hadith of Imam Ali when he was having discussion with someone about Dhul Qarnayn. Dhul Qarnayn, some people say was a prophet, some people say he was not a prophet, like a prophet, not a prophet. He died twice and was resurrected twice. They killed him one time, he died one time, he came back to life, he lived, and then he died again. So they say Imam Ali, when he was speaking to this man, he said, and at our time there is another one like him, and that is me, was referring to him. That I died one time, I'm going to come back to life, stay for some time, and then die again.
Who said that? Imam Ali said?
They say this.
Okay, so
But this hadith, it's not 100% acceptable. It could be right, it could be wrong. And it is not one of the fundamentals of religion, that if you don't believe in it, then you are not a Shia.
Right.
There are plenty. Allam al-Majlisi in his book, Bihar al-Anwar, he brings almost 200 hadiths from different imams regarding Raj'a. And he says, with this amount of a hadith, there is no room to deny this Raj'a. That they're going to come back, especially during the time of Imam al-Mahdi. Both the groups, the believers, the leaders of faith, and the leaders of disbelief. They're going to confront each other, and the victory is going to be of those. God wants to prove that they were, they were victims. So now we give them support, we give them victory, and we show their enemies that. And then they bring many verses. For instance, the verse in the Quran, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا, chapter 28. وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. We want those who have been oppressed, which is the Imams and the Prophets in the land, we want to make them leaders. We want to give them power and authority and dignity. So they use this verse as being, an evidence that they will going to come back again. And in many ziyarat that we read, مُؤْمِنٌ بِرَجْعَتِكُمْ, I have faith that you're going to come back, to our Imams, we say. So this is an issue that has been widely discussed.
The scholars that you mentioned are saying it's a moral victory. So do they believe the Imams, those scholars, do they believe the Imams are coming back?
No. They say it doesn't have to. They don't say no, impossible. They say it does not have to. It's not necessary for them to come. God can bring them.
Right.
They are not arguing that this is not possible.
Right, no, I know, yeah.
This is impossible. No, they say God can do anything. Can bring anyone, any community, He can bring the entire humanity back to life. For God, it's not. But they say there is no need to do this. Because once justice is restored through Imam al-Mahdi, then there is no need to bring Imam Ali, Fatima al-Zahra, and Fulan and Fulan. And then.
But you said earlier, if from the hadith, which may be or may not be, if you don't believe in this hadith, then you're not from us.
Yeah, but that hadith is contested. That hadith is not 100% authentic. Some people believe in it.
Right.
Some people say ضعيف. This hadith is ضعيف.
So, okay. just wondering.
So there are many stories that Fulan and Fulan are going to be taken out of their graves who abused Lady Zahra. They're going to be resurrected,
Right.
and they are going to be, punished and this and that.
So what's your take on it? Can we ask that?
My take, I say this is not one of the necessities or one of the fundamentals of our aqidah. It's not.
It's not okay.
If you don't believe in it, it's okay. It's not like imamah. If you deny the imamah, there's a problem. Imamah is one of the fundamentals. Succession to the Prophet is one of the fundamentals.
Right.
But raj'ah, some people find it hard to believe in the raj'ah. Or it's not necessary. Why should God bring all those people back again?
Right.
Khalas, the test is done and all are going to meet their Lord on the Day of Judgment. Why should you bring them back to this life and there is punishment here and punishment there, So I never mentioned this in my son. Have you heard me? Only in the class. But
No,
for some people, they mention this every single day.
I've never heard it. I was going to say, I've never heard in any mosques, Shia mosques, let's say, a discussion of Raj'a.
Yeah. But if you read in the books, it's found in the books.
Yeah.
It's found in many books and they pay attention to it and it occupies an important place in the Shia piety. But as I said, the Sunnis from day one, when they wanted to discredit a scholar or a companion of the Imams, he says, هذا يؤمن بالرجع, as if he's an atheist. Rather than saying he's an atheist, they make it short. They say يؤمن بالرجع خلص. When they say يؤمن, he believes in raj'a, it means that he's done. Okay. So, of course, our Shaykh al-Saduq, al-Mufid, those early scholars of Shia Islam, they support their argument with ayat. They don't speak, out of nothing. They bring ayat. One of these ayats, 1639. Look at this ayah. 1639. 1639, Surah An-Nahl. An-Nahl is the bee. An-Nahl. What does it say? It says, وَأَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهْدَ أَيْمَانِهِمْ. The non-believers, they take an oath. لَا يَبْعَثُ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَمُوتُ. It's impossible that God is going to resurrect anyone who's dead. They didn't believe in the resurrection, Qiyamah. They didn't believe. God is answering them, Bala. Definitely we will. Bala wa'dan alayhi haqqan. It's a promise upon God that He is going to resurrect every dead person. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But unfortunately, many people do not believe in this. And then He says this. This is very important. لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمُ الَّذِي يَخْتَلِفُونَ فِيهِ. God brings the dead back into life, لِيُبَيِّن, to show them what they differed over, what they disbelieved in. لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ. And they say, لِيُبَيِّن, it's here in this life. To show them that, see, I'm bringing the Prophet that you rejected him, the book that you rejected him, the Prophet, and I'm going to show you how you were wrong and he was right.
Why do we make that conclusion, say that Bayan is this life and not in the hereafter?
Because it says he will bring them back to life.
Okay. Can't you bring them back to life?
Yeah. Shaykh al-Saduq, he says, وَالتَّبْيِينِ يَكُونُ فِي الدُّنْيَا. This evidence to show him, it will be here in this life. This is his opinion.
So Yawm al-Qiyamah.
But it could be on the Day of Judgment too. Yeah.
So, but the Day of Judgment,
Mhm.
is it in this life or?
No. Cannot be lower life. Lower life is over. Qiyamah is somewhere else, not in this life. Not in this life. Okay? All right. This is that they said, Jama'atun min al-imamiyya, leaders of the imami, scholars of the imami, ila ruju'i dawlat al-haq. Raj'a means that the state of justice, the government of justice is going to be restored. Okay? دون رجوع الأشخاص بإحياء الأموات. It's not about resurrecting the dead. The dead do not have to be resurrected. Once you restore justice, خلاص, people know that this was not fake. This was, what the prophets preached was right.
So that makes sense, like just in common sense, and restoration is justice itself. Let's say not if we think about it, but in the cases that you mentioned the other day, yesterday, there were cases where God resurrected people in this life. So sort of now we're saying that it's happened, but more likely it's not going to happen. So would we have been some of the people that said, I don't think in the past, let's say, that could have happened,
In the past, it did happen.
Right, it did happen because we have
Yeah.
in the book it says
In the Quran, yeah. Not only them, many other communities, prophets, individuals,
Right.
they came back to life. But here we have, see, for instance, Sheikh Muhammad Rudha al-Mudaffar. He says, وَعَلَى كُلِّ حال, anyhow, فَالرَّجْعَةُ لَيْسَتْ مِنَ الْأُصُولِ. It's not one of the fundamentals of Shia Islam. التي يجب الاعتقاد بها. That you have to believe in it. It's not one of the fundamentals. Yes, we believe that the Ahlul Bayt, they spoke about it, but if you don't believe in it, then it's fine. It's fine.
Said, wouldn't it be important to believe in Isa and his returning to, because then you have Imam Mahdi representing the Imams, whereas Prophet Isa is going to be representing all the prophets. So that ultimately it kind of gets to that same conclusion that God will.
The return of Imam al-Mahdi is one of the fundamentals of Islam and Shia Islam. But whether Jesus is going to be with him or not, it's not one of the fundamentals. Meaning that if you don't believe that Jesus will come back with Imam al-Mahdi, he's going to stay there. He's not going to come. It would not, spoil your Shi'ism or your faith. The return of Isa alayhi salam. But the return of Imam al-Mahdi is one of the fundamentals.
So the return of Jesus is also not, does that have not strong backing?
It does. It's in the Quran.
Right.
It's in the Quran, a verse in the Quran. And وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. Every people of the book of every person of the people of the book are going to believe in the reality of Jesus, not being the Son of God. لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ, before Jesus dies. Because Jesus is going to die.
Right.
Ultimately, he's going to die. Okay? وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. So they're going to witness here in this life, every Jew, every Christian, every follower of the books, not the Quran, other books, are going to believe in the reality of Jesus, and plus, وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, on the day of judgment, يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. Again, Jesus is going to come back again and tell them, see, I'm not the Son of God, I'm the messenger of God.
So say with the return of the Mahdi and his ultimate proof, isn't that proof in itself, like without needing Jesus to come back, that this was the correct message, and so therefore Jesus does not have to come back with him? I'm just thinking.
The reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi is going to be a testimony to every single principle, not only of the Islamic faith, but of other faiths.
Right. So final
Because he's the ultimate proof of God. He's the ultimate embodiment of truth and justice. Whatever God said from day one, then Imam al-Mahdi is going to prove it. Not just whatever Prophet Muhammad said, whatever Adam, Noah, Abraham, Jesus. However, because Jesus has to die somehow. He's not going to die there. In the heaven there is no death. So he has to come back. And God says we will send him back. Prophet Muhammad says he will come back during the time of Al-Mahdi. And this hadith is mentioned even in the Sunni books. كيف بكم, how do you feel? كيف بكم إذا نزل فيكم المسيح ابن مريم وإمامكم منكم. The son of Mary is going to descend, but the leader is one of you, the Muslims. He's not going to be. He's going to be a lieutenant, not the leader. An aide, a helper. So, there are evidences that he's going to come during Imam al-Mahdi. But, let's say someone does not want to believe in that. He says, no. It's not considered one of the fundamentals. So if you don't believe in it, it's okay. But if you don't believe in the return of Imam al-Mahdi, then you are missing one of the fundamentals of Shia Islam.
Yeah, no, I just want to understand that part about Jesus, the part.
Probably, some scholars say, the emphasis on Jesus to come, not Moses, not Noah, because at that time, 2/3 of the humanity are Christians. The majority of the people of earth are Christians. So when they see him coming with Imam al-Mahdi, their faith in Imam al-Mahdi is going to be easier when they see him, he's helping Imam al-Mahdi.
Right.
Their leader, Jesus, this is Jesus that we always believed he's God, he's the Son of God. Now he's a servant of God. Maybe. This is the philosophy of his return. But not the return of Moses. Because Moses was not deemed as God. Noah was not deemed, Abraham was not deemed as God. Only Jesus was treated as God, divine. So to prove to them he's not divine. So when he himself appears and he says, I'm not the Son of God, it's easier for people to believe in that.
I had read that one of the main reasons that the two of them have to come back is because Isa is the termination of the legacy of Ishaq, whereas Prophet
of Ismail.
Imam Mahdi, exactly.
Imam al-Mahdi is the descendant of Ismail, yeah.
The two of them have to come back in order to close the loop, if you will.
Yeah, to integrate each other. It could be this is a reason too. Besides, Jesus has to die. So if he doesn't, he cannot, no death up there. So he has to come back here. And both Jesus and Imam al-Mahdi are going to be killed. This is what we have been told. So their death is also a violent death, not a natural death.
So Sayyid, I guess that's a little strange, because if they put back justice and order, but they're killed,
but not justice 99.9%.
Okay.
I didn't want to ask anything because I know it's a whole different...
Because in every society, there is a French sociologist, Émile Durkheim. He has a theory. He says, if you go to a city, a society, and there is no crime whatsoever, no crime, no theft, no trespassing, no traffic violation, nothing, then there is something wrong with that society. Something wrong. You have to have a minimum. For the society to be healthy, you have to have a minimum, let's say 1 per 10,000 or 1 per 100,000 for that society to be normal. Because the crime is also a sign of health. Criminal incidents, it contributes into the health of the society. So if it is completely eliminated, it means there is something wrong. Either people, they are fearful, there is a tyrant, Or what?
Or
Everyone's a cop.
or a judge.
Everyone is a cop, yeah. So even during the time of Imam al-Mahdi, there will be one out of 10 million that, we say peace prevail. Maybe does not dominate 100%, but prevail. Meaning that the majority of the people are going to enjoy peace.
So there will be some slight percentage still don't believe.
Yeah.
Because the question is, during the time of the Imam Mahdi, where is the test for those people?
Exactly. Because still, Imam al-Mahdi is not going to strip them of their choice. Still they're going to have, because if they have no choice, then they have done nothing. They are forced to be good. Not because they want to be good, they are forced to be good. So definitely choice will be there. However, what Imam al-Mahdi does, يَمْسَحُ عَلَى رُؤُوسِ أَصْحَابِهِ فَتَكْتَمِلُ عُقُولُهُم. He wipes the heads over the heads of his companions. They become mature. Not that they are stripped of their choice. They still can commit, sins. But they become wiser, more spiritual, more connected to God. That almost, not exactly, almost infallible. Almost. That they don't commit a sin. But it doesn't mean others would not commit.
So it could be like the time of the Prophet. The Prophet was in existence. Not a lot of people visited him. I mean, not even disbelieved him, not even visited him. I mean, sure, there's people in different countries that even come to even check him out.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same thing, as if the Prophet was here.
Exactly. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.